1982 Topps Baseball Cards, 17 Most Valuable, plus bonus listings. Are 1982 Topps Baseball Cards your favorite of all time? If so, I'd wager to bet that you're among a handful of collectors who can make that claim. Maybe it's the consequence of weighty expectations. After a so-so set in 1981, the first year of renewed competition on the heels of 25 years of monopoly, Topps needed a home run to make sure Fleer and Donruss stayed at arm's length, and none of the 1982 sets blew anyone away. Still, as the years have passed, the nuances of the 1982 Topps set, crisp photos, lots of action shots, and even the double hockey stick design have set it apart from its long-ago competitors. And coming as it did right before the true hobby boom, and led by a Hall of Fame rookie card, 1982 Topps is no junk wax pablum. In fact, big-name cards from the set and nice grades can bring top dollar in today's market. Here is a quick rundown of those most valuable 1982 Topps baseball cards based on recent sales for copies graded PSA 9 and presented in numeric order. Number 17. 1982 Topps Rod Carew, number 500. By 1982, the last of Carew's 7 American League batting titles was 4 years in the rearview mirror, but the threat of his copying an 8th was always on the table. Indeed, he hit .319 that summer to help the Angels capture the American League West title, then follow that up with a .339 in 1983. 2 years later, Carew would collect 124 safeties, pushing past the 3,000 hit barrier that had seemed like his birthright for nearly 2 decades. Carew contemplated playing again in 1986, but ultimately retired that June, leaving behind a slew of memories and stacks of sweet cardboard like this 1982 Topps gem, value $30 to $35. Number 16. 1982 Topps Fernando Vanenzuela, number 510. No one was hotter in the baseball world than Fernando Vanenzuela entering the 1982 season. After all, his phenomenal rookie campaign in 1981 spawned its own mania. And while Fernando cooled down over the course of his career and remains outside of Cooperstown, he still enjoys a strong hobby following. This may not be his rookie card, but it just may hold the record for the tightest cropping in hobby history. Value $30 to $35. Number 15. 1982 Topps Karl Yastrimsky, number 650. For a while it seemed as if Karl Yastrimsky might play forever. That didn't quite turn out to be the case, of course, and this 1982 Topps card ended up being the second to last Topps issue of Yaz's long and storied career. The 1967 American League MVP and Triple Crown winner will forever be a fan and hobby favorite. This late career card captures the legend in a quiet moment. Value $30 to $40. Number 14. 1982 Topps Ozzy Smith, number 95. The Wizard of Oz spent the first 4 seasons of his career patrolling shortstop for the San Diego Padres, where he developed a reputation as an acrobatic glove man with a weak bat. All that changed when the Pads dealt Smith and Steve Mura and Al Olmsted to the St. Louis Cardinals in exchange for Luis de Leon, Sexto Lescano, and shortstop Gary Templeton in December of 1981. It was a challenge traded SS for SS. The Cardinals won hands down as Ozzy reeled off a string of 12 more gold gloves, helped St. Louis become perennial contenders who won the 1982 World Series, beefed up his offensive powers, and made it all the way to Cooperstown. His last Padres card is a landmark in its own right. Value $35 to $40. Number 13. 1982 Topps Robin Yount, number 435. Yount was already a superstar in Milwaukee as the 1982 season dawned, an all-star shortstop with pretty decent MVP cases in both 1980 and 1981. Then at age 26, Yount emerged as the best player on the Brewers team that captured the imagination of the baseball world, pushing all the way to a thrilling 7-game World Series before their season finally came to an end against the champion Cardinals. Yount took home American League MVP honors, then set about filling in his Hall of Fame resume. By 1993, he had lodged 3,142 hits, 251 home runs, a Gold Glove, 3 Silver Sluggers, and another MVP award in 1989. Along the way, Yount's 1975 rookie card became hobby royalty and lifted the rest of his cardboard, like this 1982 classic right along with it. Value $35 to $40. Number 12. 1982 Topps George Brett, number 200. Brett was a year removed from his amazing .390 run in 1980 when this card debuted, and he had fallen all the way to .314 in 1981. Poor Royals fans had to suffer through an awful performance. But Brett was still right in his prime and still a superstar bound for Cooperstown. And as his expression on this card might hint, Mullet and his bat were a little skeptical about any whispers to the contrary. Value $35 to $40. Number 11. 1982 Topps Reggie Jackson, number 300. For years, Reggie was the straw that stirred the drink, first for the Oakland A's and then for the New York Yankees. He was Mr. October, for gosh sakes, and the World Series seems to follow him from town to town. Heck, the man even had his own candy bar. In January of 1982, though, Reggie was turning the corner into the home stretch of his career, and he signed as a free agent with the California Angels. Though Reggie and the Halos would taste some success over the next several seasons, it was never quite as resounding as his historic runs with the A's and the Yanks. And he never made another New York cardboard appearance. This last Yankees card is the final parting shot of the straw that stirred the Big Apple drink. Value $30 to $45. Number 10. 1982 Topps Johnny Bench, number 400. This list seems to have its share of best ever position players, and Johnny Bench certainly fits the bill at catcher. From 1968 National League Rookie of the Year to National League MVP awards in 1970 and 1972 to being the field general for the Big Red Machine, Bench is a bona fide baseball legend with unmatched pedigree behind the plate. No surprise then that his card remains popular even today, 35 years after his retirement. This 1982 close-up, where Bench may be channeling a future version of Peyton Manning, shows Johnny Bench near the end of his career. Value $35 to $45. Number 9. 1982 Topps Nolan Ryan, 1981 highlight, number 5. In a career full of milestones and highlights, Nolan Ryan's fifth no-hitter provided something extra special. A high note onto which almost end the strike-torn 1981 season. Of course, it might have also seemed like something of a parting gift, or at least one last few big moments the Express had left in his 34-year-old tank. He would turn 35 in just a few months after all, and was still considered by many to be a flamethrower and nothing else. When Ryan finally hung up his spikes, 12 full seasons later though, he had built his legend as one of the greatest, most durable pitchers of all time, winning 300-plus games, tacking on 2 more no-hitters, and shattering just about every strikeout record in the books. The hobby noticed, too, and elevated Ryan to cardboard king status, forever installing him near the top of lists like this one. And yeah, even highlight cards like this one regularly make the cut. Value $35 to $45. Number 8. 1982 Topps Mike Schmidt, number 100. Mike Schmidt was just the greatest third baseman of all time, and many folks had already come to that conclusion by the time his 1982 Topps card hit collectors' hands. 2 National League MVP awards, a string of gold gloves, plenty of postseason glory, and scads of monstrous home runs tend to elevate your profile after all. Schmidt's cards went right up the ladder with him, and today this portrait shot, while maybe a bit goofy, is a popular snapshot from his prime. Value $35 to $45. Number 7. 1982 Topps Pete Rose, number 780. Love him or hate him, there's no denying that Pete Rose was a vital part of the baseball landscape during the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. By the time this 1982 Topps card found its way to collectors, Rose was well into his tenure with the Philadelphia Phillies after a storied run with his hometown Cincinnati Reds, and Charlie Hustle had built a huge fan base all across the country. Many of his supporters remain convinced today that the all-time hit king belongs in the Hall of Fame, and that support, along with the controversy that continues to follow Pete, keeps his cards at the top of hobby price lists. This 1982 issue, featuring a crouching Rose at first base, shows the legend as he prepared for the home stretch of his career. Value $35 to $45. Number 6. 1982 Topps Nolan Ryan, number 90. By 1982, most fans thought Nolan Ryan was headed round the bend of his career at age 35. Little did we know all the thrills the big Texan had left in his holster. More strikeouts, more no-hitters, more wins, more punches to Robin Ventura's head. All of it was still to come, and Ryan's exploits well into the 1990s would drag his cards to the top of the hobby mountain. This 1982 Topps card features the Astros rainbow, only adding to his popularity. Value $50 to $55. Number 5. 1982 Topps Dale Murphy, number 668. This card is ground zero for Dale Murphy's phenomenon, released just on the outset of Murphy's absolute peak, beginning with National League MVP awards in both 1982 and 1983, accumulating with 44 home runs showing in 1987. Unfortunately, it was a quick decline from there, as Murphy's power and on-base numbers spiraled downward through the mid-1930s. By then, though, he was a hobby legend, and his cards, including this history-laden 1982 issue, remain extremely strong in the modern market. And if Murph ever gets the call to Cooperstown, you can expect a resurgent an interest in his cards and collectibles. Value $50 to $60. Number 4. 1982 Topps Lee Smith Rookie Card, number 507. Lee Smith does not have the most saves in baseball history, but he did when he retired in 1997. And Smith didn't strike out batters at the ungodly rates we see from today's high-leverage relievers doing. But he did just fine with his 8.5 per 9 innings over the course of his 18-year career. Mostly, though, Smith stands as one of the more intimidating late-inning mound figures of the last 40 years, helping to redefine the role of closer during his years with the Chicago Cubs in the 1980s. And for all that dominance, Smith eventually reaped baseball's highest individual honor, a Hall of Fame plaque in 2019. Not surprisingly, his elevation to Cooperstown status also carried his cards into the hobby stratosphere, led by his classic 1982 Topps rookie card. Value $60 to $65. Number 3. 1982 Topps Tom Seaver, number 30. Tom Seaver was once a phenom, and more than lived up to the hype. Among Seaver's hardware were the 1967 National League Rookie of the Year award and Cy Youngs in 1969, 1973, and 1975. That first Cy Young helped the awful New York Mets turn into the amazing Mets, who won the 1969 World Series. And Seaver's second Cy Young season helped the Mets get to the 1973 series. A 300-game winner who also pitched with the Cincinnati Reds and a handful of other teams at the end of his career, Tom Terrific is an all-time great whose cards remain popular all these decades later. His 1982 Topps shows a pensive Seaver during an interview, maybe answering questions about his future Cooperstown hat choice. Value $60 to $70. Number 2. 1982 Topps Rickey Henderson, number 610. In the spring of 1982, when this third-year Rickey Henderson card was issued, the Man of Steel was not yet the Man of Steel. Sure, he had swiped 100 bases in 1980 before the 1981 strike sapped everyone's numbers. But 1982 was the year that he'd break Lou Brock's single-season record by stealing 130. From there, it was a 20-year sprint to the Hall of Fame for the man many consider to be the best leadoff hitter of all time. No one combined Henderson's speed, patience, power, and hot dogginess to such a plum. This popular 1982 Topps card shows Rickey in his element, wreaking havoc on the base path. Value $60 to $85. Number 1. 1982 Topps Cal Ripken Jr. Rookie card, number 21. Cal Ripken Jr. came on the baseball scene with a lot of hype as the son of a major league coach and a big second-round shortstop out of high school, who only seemed to get better as he climbed the minor league ladder. The Iron Man lived up to his billing right away and never really stopped. 1982 American League Rookie of the Year, 1983 American League Most Valuable Player Award, 1991 American League MVP, The Streak, a plaque in Cooperstown. Along the way, Ripken lifted his cardboard into hobby stardom too, beginning with his 1982 Topps Base rookie card that he shares with Bobby Bonner and Jeff Schneider. Once the absolute hottest card in the hobby, this classic rookie card remains the most valuable of the 1980s. Value $125 to $150. Honorable mention. A couple of players who did some nifty work during the 1981 season would go on to become absolute hobby monsters 10 years or so down the road. The 1982 Top Set gave us collectors an extra dose or two of those guys, plus a few interesting twists and turns that bear mentioning. So we will. Behold our honorable mentions. Number 6. 1982 Topps Nolan Ryan ERA leaders, number 66. Yes, Nolan Ryan was the strikeout pitcher to end all strikeout pitchers, at least among guys who could muster more than a few innings at a clip, like the 2020 models. But he also overcame an early wild streak to turn into a fine overall pitcher. In fact, he was able to cop a couple of ERA crowns, including the National League title during the 1981 season, which led to this dream combo of Ryan and Steve McCatty. Like all the clever lads who go on about the Jerry Koosman rookie card, this one gives all us wiseacres a chance to wax poetic about the McCatty leaders card. Score. Value $20 to $30. Number 5. 1982 Topps Nolan Ryan Astro Leaders, number 167. For much of his career, Ryan carried a reputation as more of just a flamethrower than a bona fide ace. But he was still a frontman for many/most of his teams. And when his team-leading ERA coincided with Topps' decision to issue team leader cards, the stage was set for more Ryan Express fodder for the hobby fire he was about to ignite in the early 1980s. Value $25 to $35. Number 4. 1982 Topps Rickey Henderson and Tim Raines, Stolen Base Leaders, number 164. Rickey Henderson is probably the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, and he's certainly the most prolific stolen base champion ever. And when you factor in the entirety of his career and all the records he owns, well, Rickey is right there in the upper echelons of Hall of Famers. Meanwhile, for most of his career, Tim Raines did pretty much all the same stuff Rickey did, just not quite as well or as loudly. In many ways, he toiled in Henderson's shadow and gained a reputation as sort of a scaled-down version of the stolen base king. That's a pretty fair assessment, too, because Raines wasn't quite Rickey's equal, but he was still good enough to snag his own Cooperstown plaque. Put them together on one card, and you have hobby gold, but don't blink or you'll miss it speeding by. Value $30 to $35. Number 3. 1982 Topps Rickey Henderson, A's Leaders, number 156. Not only did Henderson lead the American League in stolen bases in 1981, he also led the A's in batting. A feat that landed him this dandy combo card with Steve McCaddy, who looks upon his teammate approvingly. Value $25 to $45. Number 2. 1982 Topps George Foster, All-Star, with autograph, number 342. This George Foster All-Star issue is sort of the opposite of the Blacklist 1982 cards. After all, it has too much black ink. In particular, the Foster All-Star features a facsimile autograph, a feature generally reserved for each player's base card in this set. But a relatively small number of Yahtzee's number 345 do indeed show up with a signature on front. And if there's anything we've learned over the years, besides how great 1978 OPC gum still tastes, it's that era cards featuring superstars are the bee's knees. Value $35 to $45. Number 1. 1982 Topps Reggie Jackson All-Star, Blacklist, number 551. This card is here as a stalwart representative of the 1982 Topps Blacklist bunch, cards that somehow missed the production stage when black ink was applied. Some estimates have at least half of the 792 card checklist affected by this error, which you might rightly consider to be nothing more or less than a printing defect. Seeing how the rest of the card, aside from the black piping, facsimile signature, and the like, is still intact though, and that plenty of stars are in play, and that the defect versions are pretty scarce, well, it's not hard to see the appeal. And when you add in Reggie's swagger, it's no wonder this card makes our list. Value $500. 1982 Topps Traded. The hobby was skeptical of the 1981 Topps Traded set, but apparently enough of us eventually took the plunge to convince Topps that a second go-around in 1982 was warranted. And thanks to a strong crop of rookies making the jump from three-man rookie star cards to solo rookie cards, plus some big names finding new homes, the 1982 Topps Traded became the first late-year set to really take off in the secondary market. Here are the top cards from this issue today. Number 5. 1982 Topps Traded Reggie Jackson, number 47T. Reggie Jackson was made for the big stage, and if it couldn't be the Big Apple, well, Hollywood would have to be a fitting alternative. So when Reggie took his show to California before the 1982 season, you had to think there was some magic left in the old Mr. October bat, even if the glitz and glamour of the Yankees were behind him. And Reggie reminded us right away, with another big power showing and with his full-on movie star shot, that he was a fountain of limelight unto himself. Value $20 to $25. Number 4. 1982 Topps Traded Chili Davis Rookie Card, number 23T. Chili Davis is sort of a forgotten man among the many stars of the 1980s and 1990s, but the dude could mash. And enough collectors remember Davis's many contributions to the game for this classic card to hang around lists like this one. Value $20 to $25. Number 3. 1982 Topps Traded Kent Herbeck Rookie Card, number 44T. The Twins were a pretty bad team in the early 1980s, but they had a stable of promising young players coming up through the minor league ranks. Hopes were rising, even if skepticism remained. The mood turned in a hurry once big bats like Kent Herbeck made it to Minneapolis and started to deliver on all that promise. Herbie may never make it to the Hall of Fame, but he's a Twins legend, and his solo rookie card is still a collector favorite. Value $25 to $35. Number 2. 1982 Tops Traded Ozzy Smith number 109T. There are few more iconic player-team combos than Ozzy Smith with the St. Louis Cardinals, and this was the first card to capture that marriage. Long one of the most popular cards in the set, the 1982 Topps Traded Ozzy Smith stands as one of the decade's most iconic cardboard relics, especially considering the Smith helped the Cards to a championship his first season, 1982, in town. Value $45 to $55. Number 1. 1982 Topps Traded Cal Ripken Jr. Rookie Card, number 98T. The first standalone Topps Traded set may belong to 1981, but the first card to really make a series, a hobby burner, belongs to 1982 and Cal Ripken Jr. By the time this first single of Iron Cal made its way to collectors, his Rookie of the Year winning first season was in the books, and his three-man rookie card in the base 1982 set was a prized pull among collectors. This card burned like a supernova when Cal won his second MVP award in 1983 and continued to streak across the hobby firmament as Ripken ran his consecutive game streak into Lou Gehrig's territory. Today, the Topps Traded Ripken rookie card stands as one of the most valuable cards from the 1980s. Value $425 to $450.